Okay guys, here we are, finally. We're gonna put some hair on this thing. Okay, so we've got a 2018 Michael Myers mask. Right, I've already got the hair pulled, obviously. I've got it marked where I want the hairlines to go. Right, you can take a look at that and you can see kind of how I have them laid out. I've swiped the idea from other people over time, how they do theirs. I've also done mine like this and this and this, like running in parallel all the way up to the top to about here, and then I'll run these back, and then the front hairline will run back. So it just depends on how you want to do it. Do what works for you. I'll let you take a look at that. You can see where I've got my marks. See where I start. Oh, about a finger width above the ear, 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch, whatever. And then space that far apart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines, plus the front hairline makes 8. So that's how many I do. Sometimes I'll jam one up in this area right here between the front and the very front, and then this front inside hairline. So let's just get right on to it. Okay, normally what I've done in the past is I've used these crepe braids, right? They come in that nifty little braid, just like that. Pull them apart, got little pieces of twine, string holding them together. You pull them all apart, and they're about as wavy as you can get, like that. See how springy they are? Well, they just about double in size, right? So I use a steamer, steam mine straight. Mine end up looking like that. These are obviously cut. These are about 5 inches long, I believe. Yeah, 5 inches long. These are obviously cut out of this braid, but you can take this and you can pull it all apart, and it turns into like that. Spread them apart, and then what I've done is I'll lay them all down side by side, however many I need. The very far back row, I think, is about the longest one. If you go start from one side to the other, roll your ruler down to the back. It's about 10 inches. You could do 9. I've done 9, and that's fine too. Sometimes you can spread these out a little farther, but anyway, I'll take a bunch of those and line them all up to be however long I need it to be. Okay, and then what I'll do is I'll take my, because I need to put glue on the edges of those, right? And then I will take one of these fancy little doodads I got at the Dollar Tree. Whoops. The reason I got these, right, is because, and these are called, they're palette knives is what they are. The reason I got these is because of that offset, right? See that? Because when I put the glue down right here, I put the glue down over the edge of that, which I'm not doing yet, but because I'm not going to use this hair, but I'm just showing you as an example. I'll take this and I'll spread it into all the fibers, and I'll push, push, push. Well, it keeps my hand off the mat. You know, compared to using like a popsicle stick, which I used to use before, which are fine because you can hold it like this. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. But I like that. It was kind of cool. Anyway, so that's how I do that. I got a little hair mess here. Okay, so what we're going to do now is something a little different. I've never used anything other than this crepe hair. It's great stuff. It's a lot more coarse. Not a lot, but it's a lot more coarse than this stuff. Right? Now this is what we're carrying at maskworks.com now. Okay, this is a long 3.5 foot long piece. Right? It was rolled up, really nice and tight. Okay, it's about 3.5 feet long. This is pretty thick. It will spread out just like these did, right? Depending on how thick you need it, how thick you want it, these will spread out. Okay, I'm not going to do that one because I already actually have one that I've spread out, and I'll use that instead of getting that one ready because it's not quite there yet. But I've got one ready, and I'll show you how wide it actually gets. It takes a minute to do it, but you know, it's just prep work. Right, so it's about 3.5 feet long. Holy cow. the end of this thing, or the middle of this thing. There we go. There we go. Okay. So you can see how long that is. It's 3.5 feet long. Okay, here's the end right here. Covers my work desk pretty easily. But you can see it spreads out. It spreads out pretty nice. Okay, it's really, really, really soft. Compared to the crepe hair, crepe wool, this is wool as well. Okay, so anyway, what we do is we lay all that out, okay? And I'm going to start with, first of all, I'm gonna take the edges of these off and straighten that out just a little bit. I don't think you need to, but I'm going to. We're gonna just see how it goes. Oh, there we go. That worked out okay. All right, so I just straighten that out. So I want to do 5 inches, or sorry, I want to do 4 inches. Let's do 5 inches, okay? So this is 5. All right, let's do 5. It doesn't have to be exact, but let's go for it. Okay. So we know where we're going, right here. This is why it doesn't have to be exact. Okay. Oops. So this is all trial and error. I've never worked with this stuff before, so I don't know what to expect. I don't know. It's very soft. It's a little different working with this compared to the crepe hair because it's so delicate. Little grabby pieces on your, or grabby parts of skin on your hand will grab this really, really easily. I've got kind of rough edges. So I'm going to go ahead and cut another one. Because if I don't use it all on this mask, I will use it on another one. Oh, okay, there's the cat. But you can see we end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, now how far apart I spread all this depends on, you know, how thick I want the hair. This is only an ounce, by the way. This whole entire thing, it's an ounce. 1 ounce of Merino Wool Roving. We've got this at maskworks.com. We just started carrying it. It's great stuff. I like it. I like it a lot. It's a little different. I'm a little nervous because I've never used it before. And frankly, I'm not used to being on camera, so we're working with it as best we can. So, okay, so what I'm going to do, now see, I've got my glue here. This is what I use. Okay, you can get that at Walmart. You can probably get that anywhere. It's good stuff. Okay, I keep it in here upside down in this jar because it's kind of thick and I don't want to wait for it to do this and get it to come down into the tip. So I just leave it like that as I'm using it. Open it up. It's not going to come dumping out when I open it because it's pretty thick, but that's how I use that. It helps. I've got a rag over here handy. I've got a bottle of water here if I need water. I've got a little dish. This stuff cleans up with water really, really easily. So if you make a giant mess, it's not a big deal. Just don't make a mess in the hair, otherwise you're in trouble. So let me clean this up a little bit. This is going to be really, really, really soft. I'm probably going to end up looking at it now. I thought that maybe I could use 1 whole ounce on an entire mask, but I have a feeling it's probably going to take more than that because I don't really know if I want to spread it that thin. You know, that's pretty thin. But I don't know. I won't know until I actually get it all on there. So I think what we're going to do is we're probably going to end up laying it out like so. I don't know. I might be able to get that to stretch across. I don't know. Kind of wondering if maybe I might want to brush it out. Be right back. Okay, I found it. I found my comb. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to hang on to this. I just want to kind of maybe if I can spread that out a little bit evenly. So I'm trying to even it out. I don't want to pull too hard because I don't want to start pulling fibers out. That's going to happen when you brush it. Okay, so that helps a little bit. That helps even things out a little bit. Because I don't want to go too thin in some spots and then too thick in others. Okay, so what we get here is we're going to get, yes, we're going to get about 8 inches. Okay, which is not terrible. I may just go ahead and let that ride and maybe stretch that out a little bit on the end. I don't know, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. So what I'm going to do then is, first of all, make sure I've got enough edge for the hair to, or for the glue to grab onto the hair, which I think that'll be okay. I think that'll be plenty enough. Sorry if I'm not in camera shot here. I'm trying to not move the camera around because it's kind of rigged up. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is we're just going to go for it right now. Okay. Now I'm going to get all this hair out of my workspace so I don't get glue all over it, because that would not be good at all. I got a chip brush right here. We'll use that to help spread everything around on top of this. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to start here, and I'm just going to do, I'm not going to put an ungodly amount, but I'm just kind of, I don't want it to run all over the place. This stuff's pretty thick, so it's probably not going to really run. But okay, so that's somewhere for the hair to hang on to right there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold on to this, and I'm going to go ahead and, from starting past the hair, I'm going to run one long bead over the top of all this, past it. And then I'm going to put the lid back on and put that right there. Ooh, easy. And then I'm going to take my handy dandy knife, and I'm going to hold all this down, because when I go to pulling, I don't want to start pulling. See how the fibers are starting to stretch? I don't want to pull those out. Okay, now basically what we've done is we've bonded everything together. Probably use a little more of that down here. Okay, now this is paper on foam core, so I'm going to go ahead and take that off of there really quick. There we go. Usually I use a cardboard box, which is fine. Now I'm going to take this, put it in camera shot, and I'm going to lay this across just like this. Okay, it's pretty sticky, so, oh, it's on my finger. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to let go of it, and then I'm going to use a popsicle stick for this. Okay, it's very grabby on top. So what I'm doing is I'm just kind of, and this is one of those things where you can see me doing it, but you're just going to have to do it yourself in order to really kind of get an idea of what this feels like, because it's pretty grabby. Okay, now there's probably 1,000 different ways you can do this. I've been doing it like this since I started back in 2018. Okay, now I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a brush, because it's a little less grabby. Okay, now that's pretty well stuck, although maybe not. Okay, so lesson learned. What I need to do then is I need to run, what I needed to do is make a little bit thicker bead on the mask. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to run a bead like this. It's kind of messy, but we're going to make it work. And like I said, we're learning as we go. I'm not really afraid of experimenting. Although on camera is it's a little intimidating, but we're going to go for this. Okay. All right. What this also does is this next row that goes above it, this gives the hairs underneath a place to kind of stick to. Because if you look at the TOTS masks, which this is a TOTS mask, when you look at all the TOTS masks, the 2018s, you can see between the rows, you can see right here, this is old hair that didn't come off. It's glued down really, really well. But you can see where it's adhered underneath. It's stuck to the top of the head. So that way when the hair lifts up, you actually see hair rather than just latex, right? Even painted latex. So that'll give the next row a place to stick. Okay, so let's move forward. I'm going to take the next one, and I'm going to do the same thing. Now what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to lay my hair down in this strip of glue that I put here from that last bit. So I'm going to slowly, and I'm going to be close to it, but I'm going to slowly work my way this way, away from this edge right here. I probably should have started over here a little bit more, but I've only got to do so many rows. So, but then I can also move down here if I need to, but just be aware of that. I'm not going to do this part of the hair just yet because I don't want it to be glued to the top of this paper right here. I don't want it to be glued to that before I get a chance to lift it up and put it up here. So I'm going to go ahead and, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to learn from that last bit, and I'm going to put on a much thicker bead. And I'm going to start from here. I'm going to put on a much thicker bead. Go a little slower. I'm sorry, my hand's in the way. There we go. A little shaky there. Okay, we're going to go down to about there. Okay, and then while I've got this glue out, I'm going to go ahead and run my bead across the top of all of this whole row. Okay, just like that. Put my cap on, put that back there. And I'm going to go ahead and, I'm going to use this one. What the heck? Go ahead and spread all this out. It's really important to push down onto the ruler or whatever you're using, because you don't want to start pulling, because this is really sticky. You don't want to start pulling loose fibers out, and you'd have half of your fibers out to here. So you're just holding on to all of the fibers to keep them from separating. Okay, so let's put that right there. Now all of these you need to kind of be careful because they're all connected, but you still have to be careful and not yank it all apart. I'm going to go ahead and let's use the brush. Okay, let's just start with the brush this time. There we go. This is a little bit more intimidating using this hair because it's so soft. Not quite working like I thought it would, but there we go. This hair is pretty absorbent too, it looks like. So what we're doing is we're stretching this out. I do like the look of this hair. Okay, so you don't want to go too thin with it because I think you can see that if you go too thin, you're going to have big gaps in there. It's probably not easy to tell on camera right here, but it's all going to be covered up anyway. And of course the usual scenario, it looks ridiculous before it's done. I mean, I think this is going to work out just fine. But like I said, it's an experiment. I'm trying to sell this hair as well, so if I'm going to sell something, I need to have a very good idea of what I'm selling too. If I'm expecting people to buy this, that's what I need to do. Okay, so let's get another. Okay. Make sure there's no tacky areas right here before I lay that down. Okay. Now, and your fingers sometimes will get glue on them. It'll ball up and come right off. So just make sure they're not sticky. See, make sure they're not sticky before you grab your hair. It dries pretty quick, but like I said, it's water-based, so it cleans up really easily with water. Okay, now we're getting a little shorter and shorter, which means these can actually stay a little closer together. All right, let's put him here, and we're going to go ahead and here, so you can see, even though I know you've seen me do this 100 times. Not that many, but okay, I'm going to go ahead and put him in there for a second. I'm going to slow down just a touch. Hair always makes me anxious. I think it's because you put all this effort into working on the paint. And make sure there's no glue on this as well before you stick this down here, because you could pull fibers out of it and get them stuck over here. No, it's intimidating because you spend all this time working on the paint, and hair is kind of, it's kind of invasive when it comes to putting it on top of your paint job. Even though it'll clean up with water really nice. Okay, so I've got quite a bit on there. Now I do know that you can dilute this glue down with water. I've not done it myself, but I've been told. There are people that I know that actually use it that way. They'll thin it down and they'll use a paintbrush and they'll have a little, it's probably a little easier to spread it around. Although I like the thickness of it like this because it gives me an opportunity to have some work time. You know, there's no right or wrong way to do any of this. It's just whatever works. Sometimes it's just a matter of what you're comfortable with because that's just what you're used to, and that's okay too. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, so all I'm doing right now is I'm just spreading this around. What I want to do is I want to get an X-Acto knife, and I want to kind of pull this a little closer together because I don't want these outer pieces to get stuck down into that glue. There we go. I want the inner or the underneath portions to adhere to that glue if it needs to, or if it wants to. Okay, same with right here. That's a little, I mean, that is kind of spread apart, but I think we'll be okay. Let's just run with that and see what happens. Maybe it looks really thin right there, and afterwards it won't be very thin because the under portions from above will stick to it. So I think we're going to be okay though. I really, really do like the softness of this. I'm really curious to see how it brushes. I may do what I've seen Russ Turk do, which he just takes it and he just pulls it with his fingers. And I think that's kind of interesting. I do have a comb, you know, a pick. I can pick out of it, you know. I kind of like the way using his fingers. I like the way it makes his hair look. I think it's kind of cool. It gives it a lot of texture. Okay, so we're looking good there. Okay, we're doing good. We're glued down pretty solid across the top. I was going to put some more glue across there, but I'm going to go ahead and let it ride. All right, right there. So I've got another row. We're just going to keep going row by row, and I'm going to keep talking and talking and talking. Put this guy over here. You can see how the glue, it will run if you let it sit there long enough. That little drip will be down here, but we've got time. We've got a minute, all right? I'm going to go ahead and all I'm doing I'm not really brushing it out necessarily. I'm just kind of straightening everything and making sure it's all the same, sort of the same thickness across. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and put the same thing on this one. I'm probably going to speed up through this entire process because it's the same process over and over. This stuff will, it's very, very light, very, very thin, and this stuff seems to want to hang on to your brush and your tools. It's just a matter of getting used to a different product and then being able to apply what you know to putting it on the head. It's like the first time I used crepe hair. I had never done it before. I'd only ever watched a couple of videos, and I had never even watched a video of anybody doing a 2018 mask at this point. This is when they first came out in 2018. So what you have to do is you have to make sure your hands are clean. You have to make sure to hang on to this like this. All right, so let's go with, tilt this back a little more. Let's go with this top section. Let's see, we have 1, 2, 3 lines left, and then I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces left. See, I'm going to try something. I'm going to spread this down a little bit so it's not just one thin line. It'll be kind of still be thick, see? It's thick, but it's wider. Okay, so I need to make sure that I don't drag this too far forward. I mean, I got plenty of room before I hit that front hairline, but I'm just kind of making sure that I push it down onto the glue that's on the mask. Sometimes you can pat on it like this, and it'll it's kind of like concrete. You know, they get the liquid to come to the surface. What I can see is there's my hairline. I can actually almost can't see the hairline right there on the side. I've painted so much into it. It's kind of disappeared. Usually it doesn't, but I can see it down in there. But you can see how it's turning out. This is immediately tacky in this hair, though. I mean, immediately tacky. It's probably because it's so thin and maybe it's so absorbent. You know, it soaks up the glue and then it starts to set up pretty quick. I mean, it's still wet. I could pull all this right off the head, but it's a little different. If you do crepe hair and then you do this hair, you can see what I mean. It's a little different. You got to be a little more gentle and delicate with this stuff. What I've got now is I've got two smaller sections, a short one here and then a shorter one here, and then I'll have the front hairline. So I've got 3 pieces left. So what that's going to do is that's going to tell me that I can just about bust this in half. So I'm going to go ahead and lift it up, and without touching it on the thing, I'm going to go ahead and see where I can bust it. Go a little farther. I'm going to go ahead and just let it pull naturally right there. There we go. It doesn't matter if it's thicker. You can push it. You can bunch it all together if you need to on the end to make it more narrow. It's not going to hurt it to be thicker, especially up in this front. This very, very front row where I've got my front mark. You could make that pretty thick. It's not going to hurt it to be thick right behind that front hairline. The thing I'm not sure about with this hair is when you go to either pull it out or brush it out. I may go ahead and just brush it like I normally do, gently, because that's what I've always done, and I don't want to do something completely different just by, you know, pulling it by hand. I want to see how it works the way that I normally do it. Okay, and if that doesn't work, then I won't do it like that again with this hair. I'll try a different method. You can always add hair to a mask. If it's too thin, you can always add hair between the rows if you need to. Now, keeping in mind this glue is water-based, so like I said before, it's easy to clean up. I could take all this hair and pull it all off and clean it up really good, and it's fine. It's not even a big deal. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and run this guy right here. I'm going to go ahead and run 2. Maybe that's the answer, is instead of running one bead of glue across it, to maybe do 2. You know, do this one and then go back this way. That way you've got more product in there and it's wetter longer. See, like right there, that's the way to do that, I think. Yeah, yep, that's it right there. That's a lot of glue, though. You can kind of spread some of that out, but that's a lot better. That's much better. It stays wetter is what it is. Whoa, it's a little heavier too, so keep your eyes open for that. You have to make sure you hang on to this. Don't pull forward, or you'll start dragging fibers out, or dragging the middle of the hair up to the glue line. And you don't want to do that. See, right now I'm just kind of tapping, and it's kind of by feel, so it's kind of hard to explain, but I think you can see what I'm doing. Tapping into it, and it kind of makes some of that glue inside. I would recommend going ahead and putting, when you're down here on the paper, 1 bead of glue across and then go back again, right? It's not going to hurt. This stuff is not expensive at all. I need to pay more attention to this side because I did not embed it. There we go. There we go. As long as we're laying down. There we go. See, there's my front hairline right there. So there's little gaps in there, but that front hairline is going to sit right in there, and it's going to cover plenty of that. See, I don't have big gaps in between the rows. See, they're actually sticking pretty nicely together to cover all that up. Of course, it's not dry yet, so. All right, now you can see how we're looking so far. It doesn't hurt to spread that out. Make it thin, make it thin. And you'll probably need to let it, I let mine dry overnight. Just because, you know, I want to get to brushing on it immediately. And once I've got the hair down, I want to style it. I want to style it. So I let it completely dry. Now, I'm probably making a big mess on the bottom side of this thing. And I am. So I've got to watch where I put this. Pay attention to where I'm putting this on the board. See right there, I've made a sticky spot. But that's okay because we're almost done. And I've still got plenty of room over here. We're going to do this one last piece right here. I may actually move it a little bit farther forward. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I may actually jab another thin row inside there. But we'll see how it looks when I put the front hairline on. Which means I can make it thicker along the front. It doesn't have to be as spread out thin like I've had in some of this back here, which I think it looks pretty good. It's got a lot of volume to it. I think there's going to be a lot of ease in styling this too. That's going to be another thing, is when it comes to styling the hair, it's going to be different than the normal way I would do my hair before. I'm still learning how to do the hair. Applying the hair, that's not a problem at all. This is how I do it. This is how I'm probably always going to do it. I'll try different other ways if I can come across different techniques, but I like this. It's easy. It's a little intimidating at first because, you know, if you haven't done hair on a mask for a little bit, and I haven't, it's been a little while since I've done any kind of hair. It's been over a year, or at least a year. I've been busy with the store, maskworks.com, trying to get that developed a little bit more and offering more products. If you can see it all, I'm going to go ahead and do my one little row here. And I'm going to go, you know, kind of thickish. Remember, like I said, go over once, start over here and go over once. And then go over again. It's not going to hurt it at all. If it's too much glue, that's okay. I would say having too much glue is better than not enough glue. That was the purpose of doing this video, was to, two purposes was to, ooh, we're going to put that really close, was to show a different product that I'm carrying at the store, because I'd like to sell something that people will use. I'm using a totally different knife. I didn't need to dirty that up, but it's all right. It's water-based, so it'll clean right off. Okay. Anyway, I'm trying to sell a product that I want people to use. You know, I think it's useful. I've seen people use similar products, and it looks really nice watching people use it. So I'm thinking, well, let's go for it. So here we are. I sourced some hair fiber, and this is it. It is kind of pretty. I'm not gonna lie. It's really kind of pretty. It's kind of delicate. I could very easily see this being on the 1978 Halloween masks. Easily. I think when you're styling it, I think it's going to have some great loft. You know, when you get that, trying to get that floofy look up front. You know, I think it's gonna be great for that. I'm only kind of speculating at this point, so we'll see how it goes. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead. I think I'm going to let that rest for a moment while I gather my strength, and I'm going to pause that right here.